So my name's Jade Tapson. I'm a glass artist based here in Sunderland at the National Glass Centre. I also work here as a retail administrator alongside my creative practice. So my typical working day would be to come in and just start printing and start making something. It's not always that exciting. There's always other things involved. I've got to do a lot of paperwork and computer work, which isn't always the fun thing. But I love to just come into the studio and make something and see what's going to come out of the kiln like the next day. So when I was at school, I really wanted to work in fashion and textiles. And when I went to college to do my foundation diploma, we would try loads of different subject matters with the intention of picking two to further explore. Unfortunately, when I was there, I didn't really get on with the textiles and fashion. I just wasn't quite as hands-on as I wanted to be. So I ended up taking photography and ceramics, which was way more hands-on, and you could kind of see the results straight away. So because of the ceramics, it kind of led me on to the glass and ceramics degree here at Sunderland University. And then that's when I kind of fell into glass making. It was just the exploration of loads of different types of glass making. And then it wasn't until my later years of my degree that I found screen printing with glass. And that's when I really kind of found the techniques that I wanted to use to create my artwork. So we're currently in my studio, which I share with one other artist, and this is where I do all my screen printing. So this is where all the kind of work gets made. Just below us is the print studio, and that's where I prepare all my screens. So that's how I apply all my images to my screen, and then I come up here and actually print the work. This is where my kiln is, so this is kind of the best place for me to be doing my printing. It means I can go straight to my kiln with the work and kind of get it straight in there without kind of damaging the print. Upstairs is where the National Glass Centre is, and that's where the main exhibitions are. The Stories of Glass in Sunderland is there, and then you get this great view of the weir where all the ships and boats come through. Coming into work every day there's something new. It's really exciting for me that when I come in and the kiln's been on, I don't quite know what's going to come out of the kiln, so that's really exciting. But it's just great to know that I'm actually using my degree and that I've found something that I'm really interested in. So it's really important. A lot of my work is very much pattern based, and that's really kind of what I'm interested in. But I'm really interested in the process of screen printing and how it goes from each step to kind of create that piece of work. I screen print my glass powders, but part of the process is preparing my glass ready to do that. So I'm just going to cut my glass to size. And usually I plan all my patterns on Photoshop and on Illustrator, so I've already kind of got an idea of the size before I start. So this is a glass cutter. So I'm just going to place my glass down over the pattern. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my screen on top of my glass and the pattern and line that up. And then basically I'm just going to keep pressing down and try and line it up as best I can. So I've got my glass underneath and it lines up to my pattern on my screen. And then this is glass powder. So it's just a finely ground glass. And this is one of my favourite colours. And I'm just going to put like an even amount along. So this just gets sifted through dry, so I'll go back and forward and it'll be dry on the glass, and then when it goes in the kiln, that's when it's fused to the surface of the glass. Looks good. Because the powder's not held together with anything, it can quite easily get blown over. So I've just got to be really gentle, no kind of sudden movements. And then I'll just pop this in the kiln, ready to be fired. So now that's on, and that'll stay in there for about a day. And then tomorrow I can come in, open the kiln when it's cool enough, and take it out of the kiln and see what the results are. And then it'll go in for a second firing where I add another layer of glass to the top, and then that will be fused together and create those bubbles at a later date. So after the first firing, this is what would come out the kiln. So the powdered glass is now fused to the surface of the base glass, and then that's completely stuck now. So what I would then do is add my second layer of glass on top in the kiln and just line that up, and it will go for a really high firing. It goes up to about 810 degrees, and it sits there for about half an hour. And then when I take it out the kiln, that's when I would get these lovely bubbles form within inside the pattern. So this is the light unit, and this is how I get my image onto my screen. And I place my design in and put my screen down. And then I would close the unit. And then turn the vacuum on, and that kind of holds your image in place. See it just suction it down. And then I'm going to press the start button, and that's going to start the light, and that's going to cause the light to expose the image to the screen. And that would be on for about 40 seconds. I'd switch the vacuum off, and that'll kind of just allow the air back in. And after that, the image is being exposed to the screen. It would show you this kind of pattern. So wherever the black design is, that's where it's going to clean off all of the photosensitive emulsion. And that's how we pass the powder through the screen. So to get into the arts, I went through a university degree. However, you don't have to do that. There's definitely other ways into it. I know people who found it on later in life through workshops that they've done, or experiences that they've went on. Some people are just grown up with glass. But for me, I'd never seen glass before. I'd started studying it at university, so it was vital for me to do the university degree to find that. So one interesting thing is that we have artists from various different backgrounds, one being from factories. So Brian Jones come from a factory background, and he currently works in a studio at the Glass Centre and does public demonstrations with flame working, so you can see that daily. So artists like Brian with different creative backgrounds really ties into the importance of diversity within the creative industries. I think it's really important to represent talent across the UK and internationally, no matter what, where you come from, your race, your gender, any of that. I think we learn as a society from having a lot of diversity, and it certainly informs my practice. So I would give some advice to younger creatives out there. If they wanted to get into any kind of creative industry, any creative practice, you can certainly start by just doing things that you love at home. But also if you kind of go through the university route, you can kind of get a varied experience on what there is to offer. And I would say go to your galleries and, go and explore what's actually out there, because, there's a lot there to see. The Glass Centre particularly is quite important. It kind of showcases that glassmaking history, and we offer a lot of experiences to schools and stuff, so you can kind of get that experience before you're even kind of making those decisions. So I think just go out there and see what there is to offer and try experiences that are there, and talk to people that that are working within the arts. There's a lot of people out there doing it. So there are a lot of ways that you can find other artists working alongside their creative practice. A lot of artists have a job alongside that. I myself work as the retail administrator at the Glass Centre alongside my creative practice, and that's been really important for me to kind of gain that other side and experience from the retail side for selling my own work. But there's a lot of other artists out there doing the same thing. I started my jobs in galleries and museums through an internship, so that was a really pivotal point for me to get into that creative industry, and it really helped me experience how a gallery and museum runs, and that really kind of added a lot to my practice and how I work now. So my internship came about through the university. So I was at the last year of my degree, and one of the things they offered was an internship for a year for students interested in working in that sector. It was relatively new at the time, so there was a handful of us that went for it on the ceramics degree. So I applied and I was lucky enough to get accepted for the Gallery Learning Facilitator internship. So throughout that year, I basically got to experience how galleries and museums run, how we put together an exhibition, how we take down an exhibition, how we do workshops for families and schools, and really all the kind of preparation and what goes on behind the scenes of that, which is really vital for me and my creative practice to kind of understand how that works, especially since I'd come from a retail background previously. I'd not done anything like that before, so it was really interesting for me. I think a big part of my practice is a lot of on-the-job learning. A lot of the things I've learned over time is just by trying and doing things. Of course, having some knowledge and experience through university and the jobs that I've had has helped, but I'm only going to be able to kind of get on to the next step and learn something if I try. And a lot of that has come out of trying something and it not having worked, or trying something and something just works, or something that you have thought of and just given it a shot. And that really kind of is a big part of my practice, is just having to do something and try it. And sometimes you get a really great result and other times you don't. A lot of the time you don't, but you learn something new every time that you try something, so it gives you that knowledge to kind of move on and do something the next time around. I would say if there's anything else I can offer, I would ask questions, seek people out and try to do something creative if that's what you're interested in. You're not going to know until you do it. And one piece of advice from one of my tutors at university, and one of the things he always said was, always say yes and don't say no to things. It's really important. He used to always say no and he would never get anywhere, and he would always regret it. So I think one of the things that I've taken personally is to always say yes to stuff. Even if I'm scared to do it, or I'm just not sure about it, I will always try and do my best to try something new, even if I'm a bit scared.